Welcome to tonight's meeting. It's December 16th, 6:30, Board of Ed, Region 12 Board of Ed meeting. Justin, would you please call attendance?
Joe Abdella,
Here.
Greg Kava, Victoria Ceylon, Stephanie Kolnick, Angela Macarulo, Alex McNaughton, Justin Ongley, Jennifer Pody,
Here.
Jane Sargent.
Here.
Okay. Okay, Mary Weber and Chris Wadig. Oh, sorry. Pete Tagley.
Thanks, Justin. Can I have a motion, please, to go into executive session to discuss the negotiation strategies and consideration of the potential settlement for this Chippewa Valley Custodian School Employees Agreement? Okay, we're gonna adjourn. Oh, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Okay, done. Hey. Good. Mhm. I think that's basically what we just said. Okay, yeah. In public session. You made me nervous. Oh, okay. Okay. So, Mary, are you ready? All set? Okay. So on action item for executive session, if appropriate, can I have a motion, please?
So moved that we approve the custodial contract that's been negotiated with the negotiations committee. And as part of that, when you have a second, I want to say just two words about it.
Okay, a second?
Yeah, all four members of the negotiations committee, I can say that I can speak for them to say that they are strongly in support of this and urge you to vote in favor of it.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Okay, moving on. So unfortunately, we are not doing the holiday music presentation. We have a lot of sick children, so we are going to move that to January. So, you know, if it happens, I hope they all get better soon. And then now we're moving on to E, public comment on agenda items only. Is there anyone that would like to say anything? Anyone? Okay. Consent agenda. Is there anybody who would like to move or add anything from the consent agenda? I don't know. We don't need to actually, but I appreciate you doing it. Thank you. Yeah. We just like to pick on you. It's all good. It's all good stuff. Okay. Moving on to board chair report. I don't have anything to report tonight. So moving on. Okay.
So I would just like to offer that we take a moment of silence for the victims and families and staff of the Madison Abundant Life Christian School where there was a shooting. Thank you. It's always awful when you hear that news. Again, right before Christmas. And I get a little emotional over this for obvious reasons. But, you know, it was, only 2 days off from the Sandy Hook tragedy. And it just, enough's enough. It's gone on. And I feel for those victims and their families right before Christmas and the holiday. And we offer our thoughts and prayers to that entire community. Okay. We were happy to squeak this is a positive. We got the day in today with the snow. Were able to squeak that in. But I did want to bring up one thing, and it's for a discussion at a future meeting, but we do not have a 3-hour delay in our protocol. And we are one of the few schools that do not have it. There are pluses and minuses to utilizing the 3 hours. However, it does come in handy every now and then when you get one of those on the edge. If you only had one more hour of cleanup, we would save from a cancellation. So I just want you to think about that. I have used it in the past in other districts, and actually we didn't need the 3 hour today. Thankfully, I thought if we needed the 3 hour, it's going to be awful because everyone else, at least the regionals and people in our area, utilized the 3 hour. Didn't really need it, but and the previous one where we canceled, it wouldn't have mattered. I can tell you that just in having talked with the town guys, but we should think about having that in our pocket. We don't have a schedule for it. We don't have the protocol, but I would like to suggest that we do it. And I will put it together and share it with you after the holidays, if that's okay.
Danbury adopted that policy a couple of years ago, and it has saved us many, many days. And that one extra hour has really helped us and has helped keep the students in school. So it really is very positive.
When you think about, if it goes past like into the 7 a.m., 8 a.m., it's very difficult. And so
The other thing I wanted to mention was on a day like today, every single one of our sending schools had a 3 hour delay.
yes,
So every single one of our sending agri-science kids was an hour late to school.
and that causes issues with some of our teachers who might have to, change their time and come in late.
Yeah, I was going to say, it also gives you the flexibility to have a better look at what's going on with the weather on one of those crazy days. So, you have that extra hour to see whether it's going south or north.
Exactly.
And,
I know it's not a lot of time in school. They get in, they go, that's the disadvantage of it. But you know what? If it saves the day, it saves the day. Yeah.
I was just to say, like we talked about this a little bit earlier today, but I had parents come up to me and ask about that too, because they either work in other districts, know
Yes.
people in other districts, and so I think we have parental support as well. So I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Yeah, and it's awful when you're the only one on the conference call who can't do the 3 hour,
Yeah, I will say at New Milford, we had a 3 hour delay
Yeah.
today. And one thing I did notice was that attendance was pretty high. And also this close to a long vacation, it's also getting close to the end of a marking period. So any time, even if it's only 30 something minutes, that you could have a teacher in front of kids, just reminding them.
Yes.
I mean, today was really just a check in, like, hey, let me
Exactly.
see this. That really helped. So I would strongly support that.
Well, since it looks like we're all going to agree anyway, can we add it to the agenda and vote on it so that Lori can have it?
It really, I can just bring you the schedule so and we can do it the first meeting because we don't have any more school after this week. So that's going to happen in between with the holidays, and then the first meeting, I'll bring you a schedule so you know what it looks like.
Okay.
On another note, we had a $1,000 donation to Washington Primary School recently by a community member who would like to remain anonymous. However, I would like to read her note, and this was written just after the WPS Thanksgiving luncheon for seniors. Dear Ms. Jutt, you are to be congratulated first on being number 2 in the state. Competence always comes from the top. The senior luncheon was simply delightful. The children were so attentive. My water glass was filled every 5 minutes. I don't know when I've had so much fun. The enclosed is a small contribution for the school, of course, anonymously. Much appreciated. Very. So a lovely gesture. We have 1 week obviously left before the holiday break, and I will be sharing a message out to parents and staff. And on a positive note, I will certainly emphasize this is such a warm and beautiful place to work. I have to say that it truly motivates our students. I've been in and out of classroom. They really, truly get into the spirit, no matter where you look, of giving and caring here in this district. And you should all be proud, as their parents are. The bazaar, I didn't get to it. I'm sorry, Jen, but the holiday in the depot I heard was awesome. Clothing and toy drives, so many events, not to mention the classroom activities. I went through and saw kids making clay ornaments in art at the high school for their families, other gifts, creating cards for all the staff in kindergarten. They were busy doing that. Our AGS program students in kitchen science will be hosting a breakfast for leaders, our administration tomorrow. And high school students, of course, showcasing their musical talents through the concert. So incredible. And as a board, wow, anyone coming here as your new superintendent will be quite lucky. So I just thought I'd say that. Sure. And
Oh,
then
you
I'll
go,
go to-
Finna, you go first.
I'll read personnel really quickly. We have appointments. Wayne Kowalski is a maintenance at Chippewa Valley School. We had retirement, Angelina or Angie Sturgis, who's a paraeducator at Chippewa Valley School, and that's effective at the end of January. And one transfer, Michael Pringle, literacy tutor at WPS from educational assistant at WPS. And that's all I have to say.
I do want to add one quick thing to my board report that I didn't have was I just wanted to acknowledge that, first of all, our first selectman, Jim Britton, sent out a beautiful letter to our community to commend Emily Judd and the staff at Washington Primary School for their acknowledgement of being second in the state. And then furthermore, the Parks and Rec Commission had decided every year we choose somebody to light the tree. Last year was Mr. Parachi. And this year we elected for Emily Judd to light our Christmas tree, which was so lovely. So I just want to just say that. So thank you. And now we're moving on to treasurer's report, Alex.
I'm going to save most of my report for the F&O, but I'd like to have one item dealt with here in the finance portion. And Nicole, have you gotten any mail recently? Didn't you get a check in the mail?
No, I got a wire transfer.
A wire transfer. And how much was that for?
4,659,858.
And that is from the state, the money that we've been waiting on the Ag STEM program for many moons. Now, rather than spend it all in one place, we have a $3.1 million bond that loan that we have to repay. Plus, there's some back expenses of 500,000 that we borrowed from ourselves, and we have to repay ourselves. But on balance, it looks like we netted about $115,000, real money. And it's because of Nicole keeping after them all this time. She sent them several reams of paper, and they did not question anything. They basically just sent the money. So who knows? Maybe we'll get another check or another wire transfer next month. But
Alex, can I add something to that? Just so people understand what this money is. It's not a gift. When we had the ag science and science lab job, the state held back, what was it, 11%, I think?
7%.
The state held back 11% of the amount of money the state was paying in order to make sure the job got finished and other things. So this is a return of the holdback, and we've had to for several years keep borrowing money waiting for this day. So this puts an end to that.
And I will also want to know that Lori and Nicole kept this secret for 6 days and just dropped it on us this evening. So they're in my doghouse.
Committee reports, agri-science, Mary.
Yes, we had a meeting on the 9th of December, and we went over the minutes of the advisory committee. And let's see, we talked and we went over that with Tyler, and we had public relations with opportunities to do more with the towns. And also we talked about hiring a hiring guide for the FFA employees and our FFA students attending the Board of Education meetings in other towns so they could talk about our program. And the SAE hours and the opportunities, we'd like to get more of them for the ag students. Tyler also discussed the current projects, the ventilation system for the livestock area and the sugar house evaporator is being installed, and dealing with horses that people wish to donate to us. And I guess they will go over that, and that will have nothing to do with us. That'll have everything to do with that. Also, a few of our members think that the fundraising by the FFA students should be maybe a bigger project in the future. And I guess that's about it.
Thank you, Mary. Curriculum, Justin?
Nothing new. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 6th.
Thank you. At Advance, Joe?
Nothing new to report. Our next meeting is in January.
Finance and Operations. Back to Al.
We just had an F&O meeting at 5 o'clock this evening, and I'm going to leave the turf project information off for right now because I see it's under old business. The one thing that we did discuss was the REACH program and the tuition that we charge for it. Last year, we only received about $41,000, and the program costs way, way more than that. And there's thought, and I don't know if we want to bring it up tonight, that we would make the REACH program free. But we would eliminate transportation, which seems to be a major headache. The little ones get a busload of little ones with just a bus driver. And if something were to happen, 13 little kids, plus many of the buses aren't equipped properly with the proper seat belts for the toddlers. The harness, yeah. They have maybe 4 of them on it. If you have more than 4 toddlers, can't take them. So, well, there's also a problem with getting drivers. We're having trouble getting drivers for this. We've done different configurations of ways of getting the children up here. But our thinking is that it'll about even out the money we save by not doing transportation and the fact that we're no longer going to charge tuition. Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
No, I just wanted to speak to Vicky's comment. We did try to get a monitor for the 2 buses we were running early from Roxbury and Bridgewater. We were not able to find it. That was our first thought.
Let me see what else we've got. Capital improvements. Nicole took us on a kitchen walk today, a cafeteria walk, and we looked at the current facilities and many of its shortfalls. And at some point in the near future, we're going to bring up before you a proposal of what to do about the kitchens, whether to do a patch or really do it correctly. And hopefully it will last us for many, many decades to come if we do it the right way, but it will be expensive. So it'll be something that we'll really need to discuss here in detail. And that is it. We adjourn. Oh, Nicole got us down in the basement, and to make sure that we were paying attention, she got us locked in. So we had to call for help. No, it's on the agenda. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Labor negotiations, Greg.
Yeah, as you seen tonight, we concluded our negotiations with the custodians. We've now approved that contract. We have also reached a tentative deal with the administrators union. And we haven't signed that tentative agreement yet, but hopefully that'll happen soon. And then we'll be bringing that up to you for contract. So that will complete this year's negotiations.
Okay, thank you. Policy, Justin?
We just met last Monday, and we talked about a variety of policies. A community non-discrimination policy, employment and student teacher checks, employee use of the district computer system. And then the one that we spent the majority of our time was the school climate policy, which is going to be state law coming July 1st, 2025. And I believe as a committee, we decided sometime in January, we're going to start looking at these for first reads.
Thank you, Justin. Strategic long-range planning, we have not met, so there's nothing to talk about. Old business, discussion and possible action to allow fundraising efforts for the installation of turf fields at Chippewa Valley School. Yeah, go for it.
The F&O meeting today, we talked about it, and it was unanimous among the members of the committee. We didn't take a vote. We took a hand vote. We're all in favor of this. I think it's a great thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And if they can pull it off, more power to them, and it'll be great for Chippewa.
Discussion?
I know there was some talk at one point about the budget and whether or not the budget for this included the cost of replacing these fields that they're going to build, because those have to be replaced every 10 or 12 years. And if that's the case, I would want to make sure that they had raised enough money to cover a revolving fund to pay for that. Otherwise, it becomes a Board of Education expense. And I think you'll find some pushback from the boards of finance.
Well, when we were in our meeting, we were discussing how, for example, the track needs to be redone, right? So we would have to pay for that anyway. So whenever we invest in any of our projects, whether it be the planetarium, the track, we don't ask for people who are fundraising to then supply that too. So that would be on us. And you were talking about, we would put money away each year into the capital to maybe help do that in 10 to 15 years if we're taking care of the field the correct way.
Cost of maintaining a turf field is less than the cost of maintaining a grass field correctly. Those would be pluses and minuses. I don't think we can look for a quote on endowment to maintain every 15 years. I don't think that would be reasonable.
Well, it would be an added expense only because we don't maintain our grass fields now properly. We don't do what we have to do on those. That's why I was hoping that Don was going to be there tonight so he could take us through some of the things that he learned when we looked at a turf field. I want to say that's going to be almost 10 years ago. We had a person who was willing to donate money to do it if we could light it, and Washington wouldn't let us light it. So that kind of went by the wayside. But he found out a lot of things about how those fields function, how they work, what you're supposed to do to maintain a grass field. And we're not doing what you need to do to maintain grass fields. So I just want people to be aware that this is going to be an expense, and it's not going to be an insignificant expense. I mean, these things are costing $4 or $5 million to build them. And so you can expect that a refurbishment of the field may not be $1 million, but it's going to be a fair amount of money.
Mhm.
And
we need to plan accordingly for those projects like we would any other.
well, that's true, but we need to think, I just want everyone to think going in, you don't know what that cost is. And you're committing to go down a road to assuming that cost. And I think you need to know what it is. I'm just suggesting that that's something that we should do. Because if I were sitting on a board of finance and this proposal came in, I would ask that question.
Well,
I would ask, what's your plan going forward in the future? And if you say, we don't know how much it costs, that's a little bit of a problem, I think.
Well, I think at this point, what we're doing is we're approving a group of people to start fundraising. We're not asking them to install it tomorrow. So we have plenty of time to get all our nuts and bolts in when and if that time comes. But in the meantime, we already spend money maintaining our fields. And I think it's just like we want to be in the 21st century for all the other aspects of Chippewa. I think that this is going in that same direction. So does anybody else have anything else that they would like to say? Yeah, please.
So, Greg, when you say we don't maintain our fields like we're supposed to, that's shame on us. We should be maintaining those fields. So if it costs whatever it costs, it will cost probably a little more to maintain those fields, but also understand that I assume, like everything else, the technology 10 years ago probably has improved with respect to maintaining those fields. So
Grass fields?
no, when you said that 10 years ago, we looked into this and there's a maintenance cost, well, maybe the technology or the product has gotten better and so it's less to maintain. But my point is, I think, our position of, well, our cost now is zero because we don't do what we're supposed to do. We should be doing what we're supposed to do.
Well,
So
yeah.
It's not a good thing for us.
Well, our cost isn't zero. We actually pay people to mow those fields. So, there is that. What we're not doing is we're not dealing with the surface. The surface gets harder and harder and harder as it's played on. And then it becomes a question of how safe is it to play on something that's in essence you'd be like playing on blacktop, at some point, if you keep allowing it to be compacted. And we have not done the kind of work that causes those fields to be revitalized. You probably would spend more money on a grass field than you would on a turf field. But we're not spending that. So this is new money out. And I think we should at least ask the question early on. I'm not suggesting, look, I'm in favor of this.
Oh.
I want to see this happen. But what I don't want to see is to have pushback in other areas, because what it'll push back is it'll push back the budget in future years.
Mhm.
And if that happens, then you're going to have trouble perhaps getting the educational things you want to do, because you've assumed a debt for this thing, and now you've got to be able to fund it. So I look with Nicole in charge of the finances, I'm sure this will be fine. I'm not worried about it, but I just want the question to be asked. I don't want to say we didn't ask the question, we didn't think about this, we didn't look into it.
Well, I think that, as Alex has stated at the F&O meeting, everybody that was there was 100% in support of it. Nicole shared that she was willing to help in any way that she could. So I think we're ready now and we're only voting on the group again to start fundraising. That's it. So I'd like a motion. Second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstain? So moved. Great. Moving on. New business. Consider and if appropriate, approve the 2025-26 calendar.
So I'm going to ask Carrie to come on up, but if she can just sit up here, because I know that you might have a question or two, but we are proposing a modification to our school calendar, our existing school calendar, to allow us to add an additional one more full professional development day for our staff. We do have, and there's some changes we want to also include and move some days that we already have around, for example, to utilize election day. You'll see that on the calendar. You all should have gotten that in your materials. To utilize election day, because there are many schools that are off on election day, obviously, because they use the facilities there in those districts for voting. But what happens as a result is there are a lot of conferences, there are a lot of inter-district professional development opportunities that our staff can't be a part of as a result, because we do not use that day. It would take one day off of our 183, obviously, days, student days. We are obviously over what the state mandates, which is 180 with 182. But the real reason behind this and rationale is because over time, and Carrie will attest to this, we have put so much on our teachers for training. There's something new every year. We were just talking about it as superintendents the other day that, it's very hard to get all of this done in the time frame that we have, either in the August days at the beginning of the year, and Justin, you know that. Not to mention just the few days that we have during the year. Half days are difficult. They can usually be done maybe at the building level because they only really have the hour and a half, 2 hours to get anything done. So it isn't anything like we can, move to SVS like we do when we have a speaker or Carrie or someone is, really kind of motivating everyone and it's a full day. We don't have that. So we want to add one. We also, January 16th would be the new full PD, changed from the half a day in January. We would still retain 3 half PD days throughout the year. So 6 in total, 3 full days and 3 half days. And again, we go to 182 days, which is still over what the state requires. Carrie, did you want to add to this and some of the things that have to get done?
Yeah, just that those half PD days are difficult to make real progress because there's only about an hour and 15 minutes where elementary and secondary overlap. So when you want to do something whole district, you literally have just a little over 1 hour with the K-12, pre-K to 12 staff together. So half days can be more building based, but that leaves right now, once we get through convocation, we have 2 full day PDs and we can get a lot done on those days because we can get everybody in one place for the whole day. But the half days, not as much just because of the timing of when Chapag dismisses, when elementary dismisses, when the Chapag day ends, when the elementary day ends.
I want to add something too. When we were talking about teachers coming, some teachers leaving, a big part of their exit interview, excuse me, I didn't give them a test. Their exit interview focused on, it's a small district. They don't have the kind of support you might get in a much larger place, collaborative time. They loved the full PD days. Why? Because they had the opportunity to meet with people across the district in their same subject area or grade level. It can't happen as it does in other districts. So to add one more for that purpose, to me, that, is really a necessity.
And we're collecting feedback on all of our PD days this year from all staff and getting, very positive feedback. So far, we've only had the 1 full day once we got through our 3 days at the beginning of the year, the 3 convocation days. So we're using that feedback as we plan future days to make it as effective as possible. So feeling good about that. The days that are proposed would be 2 of the beyond election day for the reasons Lori explained are the 2 Fridays in January and February right before a 3-day weekend anyway. So our idea is that if we put those days right before a 3-day weekend, it helps families. It doesn't feel like such a burden to families, but it allows us to get in the time that we need with our whole staff together all in one place.
So the full days, as you see on the calendar, would be November 4th, like I mentioned, Election Day, and the January 16th and February 13th, just as Carrie said. Right.
A question. So I don't know about the other parents in the room, but we hate the half days. It's just really hard to plan your work day around. Very disruptive. You're just kind of getting into your work day and you have to do a pickup and you're packing a lunch when they're about to be home. Is there a reason why we need to retain any half-day professional development days? Because in this instance, I feel like the, again, sample size of one here, but talking to other parents, I feel like our interests are aligned in either having the day off or not, rather than death by a bazillion half days that ambush you because you forgot they existed. So just putting it out there.
I appreciate that. I think in the future, we could think about through contract negotiations, maybe getting rid of some of the half days and adding one more full day. But we can't, if we originally thought about trading in 2 half days for 1 full day. And then we thought, wait a minute, that doesn't work because then we're adding on a day for teachers. And that's a negotiated.
And we're taking away
Number.
from students.
Right.
So
Right.
we're now at 182. We'd like to be more, we want to go beyond what the state, and many districts, they're not just at 180.
Yeah.
And you're at 182, 183.
Yeah.
So you have to think of kind of weighing that out. And the other piece of that is, while we would love to have 6 full days, I don't think anyone would argue that. A lot of the half days are useful at the building level. And, so just, I know it's everything like that. It's tough for parents, but we try to balance. That's why the 3 and the 3.
There's no problem with adding this for the teachers union.
We don't do anything without making sure we shared with Tara, to talk it out, and they actually love the idea. I mean, a lot of this came from teachers, and as Carrie said, in their feedback, because it's really hard to do everything we're asking them to do with limited days in the calendar. So an extra full day and the one on election day, especially, that's not an added day, but it's one of the days in moving. They were thrilled because there are a lot of offerings they can't get to.
Asking a dumb question. I don't have it in front of me, but for next year, we went down to 182 days instead of 183, right?
Right.
For students to allow for this, or this we made that before we had this change, right? Oh, specifically to allow for it. Sorry, just clarification.
Any other discussion?
In that case, I make a motion to accept the 2025, 2026 school calendar as presented.
Second? Stephanie? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstain? Done. May I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All right, thanks, guys.